What's going on, guys? Welcome back to #AskGSM, episode 558, here today for Wednesday, August 7th, 2024. I'm Graham GSM Matthews. Hope you guys are doing well and having an awesome week so far. I'm still trying to overcome these audio issues. I've been fucking wrestling with this thing for the past week. Some of my audio has been fucked up. Some of it's been fine. It's very inconsistent. That's the issue. It's not as if all of my audio is fucked up. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. And it's not an Audacity issue like I thought it was, because I tried downloading a different program to record audio, and that also had the very similar issue. So I think it's a laptop issue combined with my mic, a Yeti Blue mic, whatever. I don't know. So hopefully it works for this one as we answer your questions from Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. If you want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post that I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below on the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Let's get right into it here from YouTube. Jordan B., their first question was, do you see CM Punk facing Seth Rollins at WrestleMania 41? At this current point, I do. But you also have to think as well, if Punk faces Rollins, who is facing Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship on Raw? It shouldn't be Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn already beat Gunther last year. I mean, that's not a bad option, but not exactly what I would do personally. There's Sami Zayn. Braun Breaker will probably still be Intercontinental Champion by then. Sheamus, maybe. I don't see Sheamus beating Gunther for that championship, although that would be great. Drew, no. Not really sure who else from Raw really makes sense. Ilya Dragunov, will he be ready by Mania to be fighting Gunther for the World Heavyweight title? I don't know. I was thinking Punk would win the Rumble and then go on to face Gunther at WrestleMania for that World Heavyweight Championship. Whether he wins or not, he would at least be in that spot. But then the question also is, if Punk were to face Gunther, then who faces Rollins? We already saw him and Drew a whole bunch of times. I'm not really sure what else he would do instead. So that being said, I'm going to say yes, because they very clearly moved on from Punk and Rollins on Raw this week to Rollins and Bronson Reed and refocused on Punk versus Drew. So I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do. I had said in other articles I could see them doing Punk and Rollins on Raw at some point between now and Mania, like for Survivor Series or heading into the Rumble. I think at this point they probably do want to save it for Mania. Depends how far they can kind of keep them apart until then. We've already seen enough interactions between them late last year, earlier this year, just recently on Raw. So it's going to be a tough task to kind of keep them apart until then. But I'll say yes. I do want them to have that Mania main event. I just don't think that World Heavyweight Championship is getting off of Gunther until then. Maybe a triple threat, Punk, Rollins, and Gunther. Not a bad idea. Maybe we can get Punk and Rollins before then, but then it turns into a triple threat for the championship of WrestleMania. Very possible. Micah does it from YouTube. Their first question was, their only question for this week, if Seth Rollins never got injured in 2015 as WWE champion at that house show, who would you have wanted to see him defeat, or who would you have wanted to see defeat him for the WWE championship? Seth Rollins was a menace back then, he says. That's a good question. I'm sure we talked about it at the time, 9 years ago when we were last doing the show, which is when we were doing the show at the time, which is crazy to think about. But, you know, I'm not sure. I think the plan was always to have him lose it to Roman Reigns at Survivor Series. Because remember, he did get hurt at that house show. But before that had happened, they had already set up and announced Rollins versus Reigns for the WWE title at Survivor Series that year. So it looked like Roman was always going to be the guy to walk into Mania, or at least walk into the Rumble or whatever as WWE champion. I don't think their plans changed that much. I think the plan was always to do Roman and Triple H at WrestleMania. I don't know if Roman would have been champion or if he always would have lost it at the Rumble to Triple H. I don't know. But I do think Roman probably would have won it at Survivor Series regardless. And he did anyway. I mean, you know, they probably would have had Sheamus cash in regardless. So instead of Roman beating Dean Ambrose in the finals of that tournament, it probably would have been him beating Rollins, and then Sheamus cashes in anyway. So I'm not really sure much would have changed, to be honest with you. But if they didn't go that route, let's say Rollins beats Roman, I don't know. I think I probably got to stick with Roman Reigns, because who else was even really around in late 2015 to face Rollins for that championship? Like, I'm not really sure who I would have wanted to beat Rollins for that belt. Like, I wanted Rollins and Triple H in Mania, but that was never going to be for the WWE title. I know Roman and Triple H was. Um, the Rollins and Triple H, I think, would have made less sense for the WWE title. I'm not really sure. I don't really know. I'm not really sure what they would have done. I'm just going to stick with Roman. Roman had ended up going to him anyway. That was always the plan. Him winning his first world championship from Rollins was probably always the end game. So I'm going to stick with Roman Reigns. I don't really remember who else was hot back in late 2015 because a lot of people were hurt and the roster was pretty thin anyway. Chris W. from YouTube, their question was, he says, "Hey, Graham, hope you had an amazing time in Cleveland, and I'm glad you had a fun time. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you're having a good week." He says, "From what I saw, I like SummerSlam, even though the turns you could see coming a mile away. My first question is about your time in Cleveland. What did you get to do while you were there outside of work, and what's the city like?" Brandon can actually attest to this. I got to meet up with him in Cleveland, so like I said before, if you're in one of these areas or going to one of these shows that I just so happen to be going to, and I talk about it here on the show all the time, if I'm going to this show or that show. I know, Chris, specifically, you and I tried to meet up at Mania. Just didn't work out. Mania weekend was just crazy. But the next time I'm in that area or whatever, we definitely have to try to work something out to meet up for the first time. But Brandon actually is from that area, and he obviously, as you guys know, sent me in a question or let me know ahead of time that he was going through a question here on the show. Many weeks ago, we set it up over email, and we ended up meeting up. He actually came to me, which was really nice. I had to finish up some stuff, and he walked a while over to where I was near a coffee shop downtown, and we just walked and talked for a while before we had to go to a concert and before I had to go to the Guardians game. So that was awesome meeting Brandon for the first time. That was definitely one of the highlights of the weekend. Meeting other people for the first time, or, whether it be people that have sent in questions or Twitter friends of mine that I've never actually met in person before, that was kind of my priority. So I actually did that over going to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Alexis. We were like, I got to meet this guy. This was the next day. I met Brandon on Friday. We met another guy on Saturday, and a friend of mine named Jeff, who I've known for over 10 years through Twitter. And he was from that area, and he was doing a book signing. I'm thinking we definitely have to go out of our way to go meet him, and we did. That kind of took priority to me because when's the next time I'll be in that area? I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame you could say the same thing about, but, honestly, I like Cleveland enough where I would definitely go back anyway. Detroit, probably not. Nashville, I liked for the weekend. I probably wouldn't go there, on my own without wrestling. Cleveland, I probably would, though. The weather is comparable to the Northeast. The downtown area at night, obviously, is a little sketchy, but what major city isn't? But during the day, it was nice. There was a lot to do. They have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over there. They have a science center. They had an aquarium. We didn't go to that. We didn't go to any of that stuff. We just went in the gift shop / cafe of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But I love how Guardians Park and the building that SmackDown was out were right next to each other. That was really cool. I didn't go to SmackDown. We didn't go to SmackDown on Friday. We went to the Guardians game instead. But I like the fact that they're right next to each other. I also love that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is right next to the Brown Stadium. So we were going to try to go to that right before SummerSlam. But like I said, didn't work out. Everything was pretty much within walking distance. It was about a mile or so each way, which isn't too bad. A lot of walking throughout the weekend, but it was still a very good weekend overall. And then on the Thursday when we first flew in, we had the entire day, and I got some work done during the day. Alexis took a nap. But that night we went to a local movie theater, an outside mall area, and they were playing a whole bunch of movies at this movie theater where they also had ice cream and mall-esque stores and whatever. It was like a plaza sort of place, Orange Valley or whatever. The movie theater was cool, and we got to see Trap. It was either that or Deadpool versus Wolverine or Deadpool and Wolverine again, which I do want to see for a second time. But we're like, hey, Trap is coming out today. Let's go see it. The movie was fucking awful. We'll talk about it later because I know John Ritlin asked about it here on the show. But we did see that on Thursday, and our Friday was doing the media stuff. Obviously, that kind of falls in the work category. Hanging out with other people, getting sushi and food and whatnot. That was really about it. And then on Sunday, we were traveling all day. So we didn't get a chance to do a lot, although it felt like a lot. We tried to do the Damian Priest 24 screening and the Sami Zayn show, the Sami Zayn and Friends show or whatever it was, the stand-up comedy show. I wanted to go to both of those, but the Damian Priest thing started right when the media stuff ended. So that just really wouldn't have worked out. And then the Sami Zayn thing I was looking forward to as well, but it just didn't really work out well timing-wise after the Guardians game ended, and it was just crazy. So the stuff that we did do was fun. I liked the city. Honestly, one of the better cities that I've been to for a wrestling show. Like I said, I would definitely go back to do the stuff that we didn't have a chance to do the first time this past weekend, and just because I like the city and the downtown area. At night, again, it might be a different beast, but we did walk downtown after the Guardians game. There was a lot of people, so it was fine, but, that goes with any real major city. Like, I don't know if I would walk downtown Chicago, for example, when we were there, but I love Chicago, so I kind of compare it to Chicago / Boston. It kind of gave me Boston, Chicago vibes, which was good company to be in. Your second question: ever since she has come to AEW, Mercedes Moné has been a very, very decisive personality. Divisive personality. On one side, you have fans of hers from her time in WWE, where she had an amazing run as NXT Women's Champion and a solid, if unremarkable, main roster run, and are excited to see her in All Elite Wrestling. Then on the other side, you have the hate brigade, who call her overrated and say she's not worth all the hype, or she's cringe, and all this other garbage. I feel Mercedes gets too much of the latter, mainly due to the fact that it's because she decided to sign with AEW instead of going back to WWE. Do you agree? And do you think the hate for Mercedes has gotten out of control? Now, for people who don't like Mercedes, I would agree, like, there are certain aspects of her presentation that I'm honestly probably in the minority on, and that I do think it's a bit cringeworthy or over the top, and her mic skills really aren't that great. But I do agree where I do feel like she probably is getting more hate than is warranted because she did sign with AEW. Those same people, a lot of those same people who, if you don't like Sasha regardless, like Alexis does not like Sasha regardless of the company that she works for. She just does not like Sasha at all. But, there are some diehard WWE fans who grew up watching her in WWE that wanted to see her back. And because she's not back, they're going to hate the fact that she's in AEW, and they're going to shit on her because of that. There will be inevitably fans who are like that and exist like that and whatever. I'm not sure if that's the majority, but she does get more hate than it is warranted. But there are people with actual criticisms of Sasha. Like, again, if they were criticizing the things that Sasha was doing in WWE as well, great. But there are some people, especially like the, I hate fucking using the word, but like the STAN, I don't even like saying the word, I'll just spell it out. The diehard fans of Sasha and a lot of the women's wrestlers, and they don't use their own, their own pictures, their profile picture. They have to kind of live vicariously through these women and sometimes these men. Those people can be fucking toxic and very weird and wishing death threats upon people and stuff like that. Those people need mental help. And those people are who I'm talking about. You can't lump everyone into one category. There are some people who just don't like Sasha regardless and do find her cringeworthy and overrated, and that's their opinion. Sasha is indeed great. Am I her biggest fan? Honestly, not really at all. But she has had a pretty good run in AEW so far as the matches go and winning the TBS title, thankfully turning heel. The early on, like when she first showed up, the promos were pretty fucking bad. But Double or Nothing onward, she's been pretty decent, which has been nice to see. Your next question, you said, after last night, do you see a long-term planned push for Bronson Reed? Or is it just going to be one of those instances where they push him for a while to see if he gets anything out of it, and they give up if nothing comes as a result? I am a big Bronson Reed guy, but he's been back for a while now, and it seems like they have tried many start and stop pushes with him, and he doesn't really go anywhere. Do you think this one will count? I fucking hope it will. Do I think it will? I don't know. Because it probably is a filler feud for Rollins. They could just be setting up a match on Raw and then moving on. That would be fucking stupid. This really should be a month or two long feud. This should not just be a setup for a quick match on Raw. That angle on Monday was great. And that is the most over Bronson Reed has ever been in WWE, if not ever anywhere, really. Bronson Reed, I agree. I love the guy. I think he's great inside and outside of the ring. He deserves a significant push. And that was the start of something. They got to capitalize on it. They have to. Will they? I'm going to say no, because history dictates that they haven't so far. He's been back for a while, like you said. They haven't done shit with him. Will this be any different? I hope it will, because that reaction on Monday was the loudest reaction he's gotten so far, and he deserves it. So I'm going to say, I'd hate to be pessimistic and say it won't lead anywhere, but I think it probably won't, because so far they haven't really proven they see him as anything more than just a stepping stone in the mid-card. But they should use this feud as his stepping stone to higher up the card towards the main event. Will he be main eventing as world champion? Probably not. But he deserves more direction and more wins than he's been getting for the past year and a half. Next question comes from Christopher L. from Facebook. Same person, obviously. His first Facebook question was, whose side are you on the whole MJF Britt Baker situation? I genuinely don't find this to be the least bit of a big deal, and we all know Britt will be back this week before All In, so I kind of find this whole thing a whole lot of nothing, just for drama for the sake of drama. I do think Britt was out of line for whatever she said about MJF, but MJF should not have reacted the way that he did and behaved like the 28-year-old adult that he is. Whose side do you take in this scenario, and do you think people are making a mountain out of a molehill? I mean, there is a lot to be said about the situation in that there probably is. I mean, I don't know. The drama in WWE, is it equivalent? We don't know. Either there is no drama, and I hate to compare the two, but it is worth bringing up for this reason alone. Either there is drama in WWE, and we just don't hear about it, or there is not drama in WWE, and there's just a whole lot of drama in AEW. My point is, either plug the leaks that are leaking this information and reporting on it. Like, is it people digging too much in AEW because it's easy, but not so much WWE? Either WWE keeps it internal and we never really hear about it, or AEW, they just like to spew drama and this person said that and this person said this. Is it the talent talking to the media? Like, we don't really know what it is. Either way, it's got to fucking stop. Like, the Punk stuff was out of control. This stuff is just stupid. It's not nearly as bad, but like, MJF not getting suspended makes sense because he didn't really do anything. He just went to go talk to Britt Baker about whatever was happening with him and his girlfriend, and Britt saying she was going to get kicked out of the locker room, all this other dumb shit. MJF punching a wall is pretty fucking stupid. I mean, if he was mad about the whole thing, I mean, cool, but to punch a wall is just childish, obviously, when you're at work. I mean, but the bottom line also with this is that this is not the first instance that Britt Baker has been accused of being dramatic or a drama queen. Look no further than the whole Thunder Rosa situation a couple years ago. That was also when Punk was still there. I don't know if he was referring to that specifically. I know he and Britt were close when they were friendly when he first showed up in AEW, so I don't know if they had a falling out or if he kind of strayed away from her because she was also a drama queen, or they just actually, kind of gravitated towards each other because of the drama stuff. I don't know. But, the drama stuff with Britt Baker, it seems to be continuous. That's the issue here. It seems to be continuous where she is the center of all this controversy, not every single time, but like suspending her was the right move to make. If this is not the first instance that she's been involved in, and apparently there are more instances of this, but they got to have a sit down with her in Thunder Rosa, which they already have. If they already have, then that's great. But like her and MJF to kind of smooth over the issues. Don't just put them on separate rosters or separate them on different shows and whatever like they tried to do with Punk. That was stupid. That clearly did not work. With MJF and Britt Baker, have a sit down, tell them to get over it, and move the fuck on. If it's just about he said, she said, and there's not much more to it than that, then really they can just get over it. That sounds like high school bullshit. Every company, I'm sure, has it, but AEW, for whatever reason, we just hear about it more. Like you said, it really is not that big of a deal, but my bigger takeaway is they got to settle these issues. Like, the fact that we hear about it is dumb enough, but they either have to settle it and have a sit down and get over it and move on, or plug the issues or plug the leaks and try to find out where this shit is coming from. Is it the talent talking to the media, like I said? Is it from other people in the company? Or reporters just doing more digging with AEW than WWE? I don't know. I don't really know what's going on here, but they need to fix it. That's my top takeaway here. Your next question. I thought the main event on Saturday was mostly solid, even though I think Solo's offense is one of the more boring ones on the roster. I just don't think he has the offense and ring presence to be a main event guy. Anyway, I thought the final 15 minutes were great, and all the Bloodline, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton shenanigans, but Roman's return was awesome, with him attacking Solo and sealing the victory for Cody. I love the detail of Roman barely making any eye contact towards Cody. While I love the ending, I have a feeling this is going to push Cody to the sidelines, where we have to continue with the Bloodline storyline as the main focus of the show. Is this going to push Cody to the side as champion? And do you think it stole all of Cody's thunder from his win over Solo? I mean, that was the whole point. The whole point was for the focus to be on Roman's return. My idea was always to have Cody win clean and then have Roman get involved afterward. And then they added the whole Bloodline rules thing. Ideally, personally, I would have done that. I would have had Roman return afterward to prove that Cody could beat Solo on his own without all the interference. And when you announce a Bloodline rules match anyway, it immediately people will immediately compare it to the one from WrestleMania that will always be superior to the one that we got at SummerSlam. The one at SummerSlam was entertaining enough, but it paled in comparison to the one that we got at WrestleMania. So I would not have done that, but they wanted to do that to make the match more interesting because a standard singles match, they have to know, between Cody and Solo will not be all that interesting at all. We have seen it before. It was good a year and a half ago. In 2024, and a main event of a pay-per-view, it just does not work for me, brother. So, yeah, I like the match. The Roman return was great. As far as this pushing Cody to the side as champion, there is a genuine worry there that it will, among me and other people and whatever, and rightfully so. I mean, they really do need to be careful and tread carefully with this whole thing to make sure that Cody is not overshadowed by Roman Reigns. I do think part of him will be. I do think so. If Roman is around consistently, they need to make sure whatever Cody is doing as champion is treated equally importantly as the Bloodline stuff. They can't keep doing what they've been doing for years now, where the Bloodline stuff dominates the show and is always main eventing. Cody can't always be main eventing, or rather opening Raw, or rather SmackDown, and being in the middle of the show. He still needs to close out pay-per-views and the middle of SmackDown or the end of SmackDown and stuff like that. They needed to be treated equally, because if they're not, it's going to send the message that Cody is playing second fiddle to the new top babyface on SmackDown and Roman Reigns. So, will he be overshadowed to a certain degree? Yes. Entirely no. But it is more a matter of who they have lined up for Cody, what challengers. We have no idea who he's going to face at Bash in Berlin. Is it Roman Reigns for a third time? I mean, maybe. Is it Roman and Solo in a triple threat? Maybe, but do they want Roman and Solo in the ring that quickly? I don't know. I was thinking Randy Orton, they would do the Randy Orton heel turn, but he went to Raw for a brief bit to challenge Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. So they're not doing that, at least not yet. It's tough. It's tough to say where they're going next with Cody. We'll find out on Friday. But, yeah, they got to be careful, man. They got to be careful not to overshadow Cody, because I think they will. But how badly is the question? Probably not that badly, but they do need to steer clear of Roman being the central. I mean, if they want to do it on Friday, have the Roman Reigns Bloodline stuff close out SmackDown, that makes sense. But you can't do that every single week for the next 6 months, and then Cody's run as champion is completely overshadowed. That would be a problem. Your next question: Gunther has taken his rightful throne as the face of Raw after a banger of a match on Saturday with Damian Priest. Now that he's got the belt, my question is, after Randy Orton, who's next? I could see Ilya Dragunov going for the title at WrestleMania next year. I could see Sammy maybe for the Royal Rumble, but other than that, I cannot see any other name on Raw with a believability to them to actually be a threat to take the title. Who do you see as Gunther's rivals going into 2025? And do you think John Cena will get a shot at the title next year at SummerSlam? At SummerSlam, I don't know. I mean, that would imply that Gunther will be champion for a year. Not every world champion, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Gunther, needs to be champion for a year. In Gunther's case, I'd be fine with it because it's Gunther. But, you know, we do need to have more frequent title defenses or changes. That being said, we did have Drew win it at WrestleMania. Damian did hold it for a little while, so it's not as if they held it for a year. Gunther I would be okay with, but like you said, they need to have viable challengers waiting in the wings to challenge Gunther. The Randy Orton one is awesome because they're going back to that tainted finish from King and Queen of the Ring. I like that a lot, that they're acknowledging that. I think that's great. Beyond that, though, who else really is there? Ilya Dragunov, yes, but they got to build him up. The guy has not won a single match on Raw in weeks, if not months. Love Dragunov. He's had a good run so far, but he really hasn't won all that many matches on Raw so far. He is not a threat. They're obviously not doing it in Germany anyway. WrestleMania, I don't know if they could build him up that quickly. That would be amazing, but I don't know if they build him up that quickly. We'll see. Sammy, you mentioned. I like that idea. I said earlier, not at Mania, though, because I just don't see Sammy winning at Mania. But as a Rumble match, that would be good. I mean, he was the last person to beat Gunther, so it would make sense if you got a shot of the World Heavyweight Championship at some point and lost. Him beating Gunther for the belt would be... I honestly would have been fine with him beating Gunther for the belt, and I would still be fine if he won regardless. But I feel like it would have made more sense if he had lost to Gunther at WrestleMania, and he's never beaten Gunther before, and then he beats him for the World Heavyweight Championship. I like that. You can plug Sheamus in there somewhere. He's never beaten Gunther. I don't know if that's a Rumble or a Mania match, but you could do Gunther and Sheamus again one-on-one for the world title at some point between now and then, or between now and next year's SummerSlam. Cena definitely at some point. I don't know if I would do that at Mania necessarily, but at some point between now and SummerSlam, definitely I would do that match. Probably for the World Heavyweight Championship. Cena should not be beating Gunther, but Cena can always win the championship from someone else later on. Those are 4 people right there. You could do a rematch with Damian at some point. I feel like you could definitely go back to that. You could say that, Finn Balor cost Damian the win. So once Damian's done with Finn, you can go back to that for a little while, or as a one-off match. That would make sense. That's 5. Rollins, obviously, CM Punk. There are a lot of people, honestly, for Gunther to face from the Raw roster. Him and Braun Breaker would be cool, but Braun Breaker's a heel right now. The draft is coming up next year, so you would get more people from SmackDown to face Gunther. But on the Raw roster as it stands right now, Jey Uso, I don't know about Jey Uso. Jey Uso's not winning, probably not. Sammy I like more just because he's already beaten Gunther. Jey Uso never has, and he shouldn't be beating Gunther for that title anyway. So, I mean, there's no shortage of opponents for Gunther on Raw, I think, as World Heavyweight Champion. So they shouldn't have a problem. They just have to believably build people up. Like you said, believability to these opponents is the key here. Like Ilya Dragunov right now is not believable. They would have to build him up. But Punk is believable. Rollins is believable. A few other people of that ilk are believable. And the matches should be great regardless. So I'm looking forward to his run as World Heavyweight Champion. No Ill from Facebook. Their first question was, do you see the Bloodline having a full civil war in the coming months to conclude at Survivor Series and War Games? Do I think they'll have a War Games match? Yes. Do I think it'll conclude in War Games? No. There's a lot more to this story they can explore with Roman and Solo. Roman and Jacob fought too. Roman and The Rock. A lot of different ways they can go with it where it's not going to end in 3 or 4 months at War Games on November 30th. It just won't. And it shouldn't anyway. So will Bloodline be involved in the match? I mean, I would think it would make sense because they're a faction and, Judgment Day was the War Games match last year, but they've since, we're going to see fucking JD McDonough in War Games again alongside Carlito? Probably not. I think Bloodline should be in War Games. Will it culminate there? Probably not. But I do hope we get a Bloodline War Games match with the current Bloodline against their biggest adversaries and Roman and other people like that. Maybe it's the OG Bloodline versus the new Bloodline. I'm not even sure if we're going to get that quite as early as then, but it's possible. Their second question, now that Becky Lynch is kind of retired with WWE, who would be your top 5 what would be your top 5 Becky Lynch moments in WWE of all time in your opinion? And where would you rank her among the greatest of all time in WWE women's wrestling? I don't know. I mean, she would be high up on the list. Is she the greatest of all time? I don't think so, but she would probably be top 5, if not top 3. She certainly is up there. First of all, just to say this, I don't think Becky Lynch is retired. I know you're saying that coming off the comment that she made on her Instagram and Twitter or whatever, coming off the airing of her A&E biography on Sunday. I don't think she's done. I think she's just saying that to get people talking because she's been gone for a while and she really hasn't been talked about at all since she left. But I do think that she's, getting people talking and then she'll show up somewhere and maybe she's done as Becky Lynch and she's not done as Rebecca Knox and she shows up in fucking AEW. I don't know. I mean, it's possible. I don't think she will. I still think she goes back to WWE soon and, she'll be Becky Lynch again and start from scratch or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think she's actually done. That being said, what are her current top 5 moments in WWE? I mean, winning at WrestleMania 35 is up there. The getting knocked out by Nia Jax on Raw, back in, getting bloodied. That's probably her top moment, to be honest. That, I don't know if you want to put beating Bianca in there in 30 seconds or whatever, but that was a pretty big turning point for her as a heel back in 2021 at SummerSlam. Winning the Royal Rumble, that was a great moment. I'm trying to think what else. The match with Rhea Ripley was really, really good. She's had a lot of great matches. Trying to think what else. The match with Trish was also awesome last year. Definitely one of Becky's best matches and probably Trish's best match ever as well. At Payback last year, that was great. I don't know. Coming back as the Man in late 2022 was cool. That was a great moment. Her first SmackDown Women's title win. It's hard to limit it to just 5, but her first SmackDown Women's title win back at Backlash 2016, debuting on the main roster in 2015 was a great moment for her as well. No moments in 2017, 2018, I already mentioned the Man stuff, so I would go her debut. I would say getting bloodied on Raw, winning the Royal Rumble, winning at WrestleMania 35, and probably winning the SmackDown Women's title. Those would probably be the top 5. She's had some great moments. If you're talking matches, then the one with Trish would be up there, that if not number 1. She's had some really, really good matches. The one with Sasha inside Hell in the Cell at Hell in the Cell 2019, that terrible show. But they had the best thing on that entire show. Yeah, there's other matches, but those are the ones that really stand out to me. At Reborn Again, John Ritland from the Twitter machine and on YouTube. Real Honesty with John Ritland. Check out his content on YouTube. Does great work. At Reborn Again, of course. His first Twitter question was, firstly, hope you had a great time at SummerSlam. Thank you, John, we did. He said, what would you say were the 3 high points and the 3 low points of the show and why? I mean, there's only seven matches, so there really weren't a lot of, I don't know if I can name 3 low points. The Jelly Roll stuff was a complete waste of time, but it was a highlight in the sense that when it happened, we were getting moved from the press box down to the ground right before the press conference. So we missed that entire thing. It served as a buffer. We missed the entire fucking segment. And so it kind of served its purpose in that regard. So it was certainly a low point, but for me, I appreciate that it happened because we missed nothing from the main event, which was nice. So that, trying to think what else. The other low, I mean, Nia and Bayley was probably the weakest match in the show, but everything else I really liked. I mean, Damian and Gunther had a great match. New World Heavyweight Champion, liked that. Liked Rollins and Punk. Some people did not. I liked that match a lot. The Roman return was the top highlight, obviously. I thought they opened the show on a really high note with the Rhea Liv match being good and the turn, quote-unquote, from Dominic joining Liv. That was also really well done. LA Knight becoming champion. Good match. Great moment. So it had a lot more high points than low points. I thought overall it was a great show. Probably the best SummerSlam in close to a decade. SummerSlam 2015 was a mixed bag. 2016 was a mixed bag. 2017, I don't remember being all that good at all. 2018, mixed bag. 2019 was a pretty good show. I would say this year was better. 2020 was a very good show, but it had no fans. 2021, mixed bag. 2022, mixed bag. That was a very good show, but I think this year was better. 2023 was also a mixed bag. SummerSlam's very hit or miss. I do think this was the best SummerSlam since SummerSlam 2014, in my opinion. SummerSlam 2013, I think, was better than 2024, but 2014 was a pretty great show as well. So it's up there with that one, in my opinion. Let's see. His next question, non-wrestling related. So Trap, what was that supposed to be? I mentioned this before. John knows because I read his review. We read his review as soon as we were done watching the movie. And John and I, we have very different movie tastes sometimes, but we can very much agree on the fact that Trap was fucking awful. And all I saw on Twitter coming out of that movie on Thursday was how good it was, how fun it was. Yeah, it was fun because it was so fucking bad. If it was supposed to be bad, like The Room, I mean, that wasn't supposed to be bad, but, you know, it's fun to make fun of that movie. Trap was just fucking stupid. I mean, it took itself way too seriously. The acting was terrible. The story was terrible. None of it made any sense. Definitely probably the worst movie I've seen all year. I don't know if you could, John probably can't say the same because he watches a lot of bad movies, but that to me was just atrocious. It was really, really, really bad. Made no sense. Just everything was pretty dumb. I was asking a million questions as to why this happened and that happened because none of it made the slightest bit of sense from why he would do this or why the concert was during the day. Go see it for yourself. I won't spoil anything, but it was a pretty dumb movie that felt like it would never end. But yeah, I wrote up my entire review on Letterboxd, so check it out if you wish. At Uwagu91 from Twitter, their first question was, it's for shame that Danielson and Omega never had a series of matches due to circumstances. Agree. Do you agree? I do. I mean, we at least got that first match. I'm glad we at least got that first one, because, like, I'm disappointed that we'll never get Punk and Bryan again. That's a match that I'm disappointed that we never got in AEW. But at least we got Omega and Bryan once. Hopefully a rematch at some point, but Omega's currently out, injured, so I just don't think it's going to happen with the diverticulitis or whatever it's called. So I'm not sure if he'd ever be back in time to have another match with Bryan, but, you know, he said he's done from active competition. He might come back for a one-off once in a while, and it could be a match with, you know, it could be a match with Omega down the road and at another All-In next year or whatever. So, yeah, it is a bummer that we did not get more matches between the two or a more decisive finish. Could we still get it at some point? Yeah, but it's not looking likely. Your next question, your thoughts on Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. Easy for me to say. Your thoughts on Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley now being baby faces. I think it's great. I think Rhea was always being cheered anyway, and that was kind of inevitable. With Damian Priest, I think he works better as a baby face, And not only that, but he has really gotten over. He was over at SummerSlam. He was over leading into SummerSlam. He was over on Monday's Raw. So I hope that continues because he has got great energy and aura to him right now. He's always been very good. I've always really liked Damian Priest. But he was missing like that one or two components to his character that really, to get him to that next level. And I think he's got it now in this story being betrayed by Judgment Day. Because, he got a great reaction in Monday's Raw. I hope that continues because he's got a very bright future as a babyface if so. So I love the move to turn them both babyface officially on the same night. Your third question, considering that you have no one to root for as they're meant to be rooted against, why do WWE do heel versus heel matches often nowadays? I don't know. If you want to do it once in a while, that's fine because it's like, if this person's a heel, but people really like that heel, that's okay. But they typically do a lot of heel versus heel matches where people do not like this person and they don't like that person because they're both heels and they're not like cool heels. And the match might be fun, but like they just do it way too often. AEW too, but definitely WWE more often. NXT also does it a lot more than they should. And it fucks up the dynamic and it fucks up the crowd reaction because they're like, all right, I don't really care about heel versus heel. I want to see someone I want to root for, So it's tough. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of that, so hopefully they do less of them. I mean, it's nice that not everything is black and white and good versus evil, blah, blah, blah. You can't have a shades of gray, but at the same time, it's like, you should probably clearly define these characters a bit better, at least in my opinion, to make it easier for people to realize who they should be cheering for and who they should be siding with, blah, blah, blah. At noob_n_co TV, his question was, what are your thoughts on the debut of Odyssey Jones this week on Raw? It took WWE long enough to get him on TV. And do you think that we might see the New Day break up or no? I don't think we see the New Day break up. I think they're just teasing it, although it is an intriguing development. I thought the debut of Odyssey Jones was honestly great. I think they did a great job executing it. And it came off really well. The crowd was into it. They kind of not made a star out of him, but he got a great reaction to night one with the way they did it. And he was very impressive out there. Odyssey Jones is really, really good. In terms of like babyface aura and his strength and stuff. He's not the best wrestler in the world, but presentation-wise, he's got it. He's got that it factor, so I think he'll do well on the main roster. But why did it take so long? I have no idea. I don't know why they couldn't have come up with this idea a year ago, but he's here now, better than nothing. I'm glad they didn't release him. I thought they might because he got drafted twice. They never used the fucking guy. But I'm glad he's finally on the show in a meaningful role, so we'll see where it goes, and they have my interest. Bill Meister, 88. Last couple questions here of the show. First one is, he said, hope you and Alexis had a great weekend at SummerSlam. Your thoughts on Drew versus Punk, and how good do you think the storytelling was with Punk basically screwing himself? I liked the match overall. It was, some people did not like it. I enjoyed it. I liked what they did with it. It felt less of a grudge match and more of like bullshit with the arguing, but that was the whole point with Rollins as the referee. That's why I didn't want him as the referee, but I could see what they were doing there. Hopefully we will get that grudge match between them in their next match or a Bad Blood inside Hell in the Cell, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, Punk screwing himself. I mean, it makes sense with the story they've always told with him where he's always fucked up his biggest opportunities, whether it be AEW or in WWE, and his anger getting the best of him. Yeah, it made him look dumb for focusing on Rollins and not on Drew, but that was the whole point. So I liked the finish. I liked the match. It was more storytelling than it was like action, but hopefully we will get a better balance between a better mix between storytelling and action in their next match, and hopefully the ultimate payoff inside Hell in the Cell at Bad Blood coming up in October. Your second question, while the Roman return was inevitable, how good was it? And was the best part of that return Cody's look at the end for the bigger cheer for Roman? Is his Homelander turn incoming when Roman becomes a bigger crowd favorite, or is it too soon? It's totally too soon for that. Roman's return was awesome. I thought it came off really, really well. They definitely have to be careful, like we said, of overshadowing Cody as WWE champion, obviously. But the crowd reaction was great. It was even better in person. I liked it on TV. I've watched it back a couple times on Peacock and on YouTube and shit. The commentary was really well done. The crowd reaction was louder in person than it was on TV. I just feel like it's big stadium, kind of hard to hear, honestly. I just felt like it came out bigger in person than it did on TV, but it was still an awesome moment. And as far as into the Homelander turn for Cody, totally too soon. I think you go to that down the road. You just crown Cody as the face of your company in April. Can't turn him heel anytime soon. Down the road, yeah, he's got a great heel turn in him. Absolutely. I mean, that Homelander Cody character is going to hit like fucking crack. But until then, though, you got to ride with him as the face of the company. People are not turning on him. His booking is great. There's no real reason to pivot and turn him heel just because you have Roman as a top babyface. Maybe they draft Cody back to Raw in the next draft, or Roman to Raw for the first time. Who knows? But for now, you do have Cody Rhodes as the top guy on SmackDown as the WWE Champion, and a top guy in Roman Reigns as well. So that's totally fine. But yeah, I mean, I think down the road, I honestly would not do Cody and Roman until Cody is turned heel. That's what I would do. But not anytime soon. I know they teased it at the pay-per-view on Saturday with the way they looked at each other, but I just feel like it would make more sense if you saved that match for much farther down the road, when Cody's a vicious heel and you have the roles reversed with Roman as a babyface. No interference. They just go right after each other to determine who the superior athlete really is. That's what I would do. But until then, keep them both babyface. And last question, your thoughts on Braun Breaker's post-PLE interview where he wasn't in character and praised Sammy. I thought it was refreshing. Yeah, I think you're talking about the interview they did on the post-show. They did one on WWE.com. I haven't seen it yet, but the one they did on the post-show, I was watching it while we were in the press conference. They had a TV airing all the footage and shit. Yeah, it was good. I think Braun Breaker, honestly, has become much more comfortable on the mic. I've interviewed him a couple times, and the first couple times he was very one-dimensional, and he was good when I interviewed him over Zoom. When I interviewed him over in person, the video is definitely up here on the channel from a few years ago, and it wasn't just me either. He did this with everyone. It felt like he wasn't just giving anything with his answers. He came across as tired, like he didn't fucking care. But then he did media on Friday for SummerSlam, and he came across a lot more lively, and he was very talkative, and I got a couple quotes from him, and he was good there. So, yeah, I think he's coming into his own. He's kind of getting the hang of the talking thing and the promo thing, and he's got some great promos on Raw Talk in recent months. Check those out. So I'm not really surprised that he had a good promo on that post show. But like you said, praising Sammy, I'm glad to see it. And not everything has to be like, oh yeah, fuck Sammy, I beat him, blah, blah, blah. He was like, yeah, no, he was a great champion, but I'm just that much better and I beat him. So I like that. He doesn't have to show that on television by acting like a babyface, but if he wants to do it on the post show, break character a little bit, it was a little bit refreshing. Like you said, I agree with that. And that's going to do it, guys, for episode 558 here today of #AskGSM. Thank you guys so much for checking out the show per usual. Like I said earlier, still trying to navigate through the audio issues that I'm dealing with on this new laptop, so bear with me. It should be fixed soon, but I'm just glad to have a new laptop. It's been a long time coming. I got my last laptop 5 years ago, and it was giving me so many issues as far as it was still in working condition, but everything was so fucking slow. It just would take forever to process. Some things would take literally hours to load. It was crazy. I could not deal with that anymore, so I had to bite the bullet, get a new one, and I did, and I'm glad I did, because this is a really nice laptop. The only Achilles heel so far is the audio quality sometimes not being great on the mic. So hopefully we can fix that permanently soon. Till then, I appreciate you guys bearing with me. But yeah, if you want to send in a question to the show, you could do so by tweeting me on the Twitter machine at WrestleRant with the hashtag AskGSM. Find me on Facebook as well, facebook.com/Graham.gsm.Matthews. Drop a comment on the post I usually put up on Tuesday nights, if not on the wall itself. And last but certainly not least, drop your question down below in the comment section on this very video. I'll include your question in next week's edition. Have an awesome one, guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm hoping to take a couple days off from just doing anything this weekend after just being busy for the past 2 months. Being in Cleveland, the rest of the month is pretty busy, but hopefully this weekend we could take it a little bit slower, just because it's been so crazy. But keep an eye out for more content from SummerSlam weekend and beyond. A lot of archived content I still got to put up here on the channel at some point. Till next time, guys, have an awesome one. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.